Hi, welcome back to Unique Minds of the Okanagan. I'm Rob O'Day. I'm here on location in Penticton with Wynona Paul, an absolutely amazing Indigenous artist who does beadwork, painting. She's created jerseys. She's done a lot. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you taking the time to sit down and talk.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
No worries. Let's dive in right away with who you are, where you're from,
Okay.
and how you got into being a creative.
Okay, so my name is Wynona Paul. I was born and raised here in Penticton. I am Syilx from the Okanagan here. I'm Indigenous. And on my dad's side, I'm Scottish, English, German. I'm Heinz ketchup from that side. I got into art. I always loved art. My siblings were all very athletic, and I was not very good at sports. But one thing that I always really liked was sitting down with a coloring book, and that's just kind of how it started when I was very young. And then how I turned this into a business was I was going to Europe for grade 12, and I had no funds to my name, and I really wanted to go. So my sister suggested that I do up some paintings and sell the originals and do prints and sell those. I ended up paying for the whole trip and having quite a bit of money left over from it. And I couldn't have done it without the support of the community, which was actually astonishing. And it was really great to know that people enjoyed my art as much as I enjoyed doing it.
Getting to travel to Europe
Yeah,
on your art,
yeah.
how did that feel?
Amazing. And it was so cool because, you know, all the other kids, like their parents made them do chores around the house and whatnot to go to this, where someone asked me, I think his name was Brandon, but he was like, how did you, was it just like a gift, or because it was graduating year? So some kids got that as their grad gift. And yeah, I was like, no, actually, I sold a bunch of paintings, and I was showing them all of my art, and they were like, wow, like that is so amazing. And they would always joke like, oh, when you become famous, like remember us. And yeah, haven't gotten to that just yet, but yeah, it felt great just knowing that these hands were able to bring me all across Europe, and it was awesome. And I learned so much about the different cultures down there, and it was a really good experience.
Did you get to, while you were in Europe, which country or place was your favorite for inspiring you to see different styles of art?
Oh, well, we traveled to Germany, France, Ukraine, Italy, and Switzerland. Out of all of those, my favorite was Germany. And it was, we went to a concentration camp. It was actually pretty heavy, but it was amazing to see that their whole country really took something awful and teaches everybody about it, so that it doesn't repeat itself. So I really, and the people were so amazing, and they were so nice. And then we actually ended up going to the Louvre, and I got to see the Mona Lisa. Like, the Mona Lisa is actually like this tiny little painting. I thought it was like gonna be this huge, ginormous painting, but yeah, when we got there, it was smaller than this painting here.
It's crazy.
And oh yeah, and like the details was so amazing, and to see the sculptures that are made out of marble, but they make it look like silk and everything. It was very inspiring, honestly. And everybody has like their own kind of art style, so I was still in the midst of finding my art style. So going into it and seeing different styles, and it really inspired me to take that next step.
How do you start a project? Do you have a vision in mind of what you want to do, or is it like most artists where it just kind of comes flowing through you?
Yeah, honestly, I just kind of wing it. When I've explained that to friends before, because like I just recently started, last year I started doing pour medium, which is this here, and then painting a design on top. And
kind of like graffiti.
yeah, and it's
Love
just
that.
like and animals. I love animals, like all sorts of animals. I have a high respect for them, not only as an Indigenous person, but just a person in general. Like, I think animals are amazing, and they're so beautiful and strong, and they just they invoke something in me that I appreciate so much about them. So that's a lot of my art, is animals and plants. In my culture, it is very important to respect the animals and the plants and whatnot that you harvest from the land. It's very important to give back something when you take something from the land. So a lot of my paintings are of animals and plants. So, and it's just, yeah, anytime I start a painting, I'll be like, oh, you like this one? I'm gonna do a bear and I'm gonna do a wolf. This is for a commission, but they just requested, I wanted a bear and I want a wolf, and I was like, okay, awesome. So I did the backgrounds, how I don't know why this one just feels more like a wolf and this one feels more like a bear, but
I can see what you mean by that.
yeah, I don't
It
know.
does.
I don't know what it is about it, but once I
Calm.
finished, yeah,
Bears are calm and wolves are very
Yeah.
like,
yeah,
they're always thinking and focused.
Oh,
so
for
it's
sure.
Like, like they're like,
Yeah.
mind is wild. That's where, yeah.
right.
see
So
that.
yeah, so that's just, and I wanted to take the colors of the environment that you would usually find them in, just forests and whatnot. So yeah, and I did the exact same colors. I just did 2 different pour styles, and yeah, as soon as I was done, I was like, this one is a bear. It just like right away, I was like, that just feels like a bear, and this feels like a wolf. So I was like, this is what I'm going to be doing. So, and that's just kind of how my art works, is like sometimes like this painting here, it was very planned out, that I was like, yeah, so these represent the 4 seasons, and then what happens within those 4 seasons. Like in the winter, traditionally, we would go stay in a winter house and make like baskets and clothing and stuff, so that you're inside doing stuff like that. Whereas in the spring, you're harvesting bitterroot and sage, and same with the summer and the fall. You're, in my culture, traditionally, you would be harvesting something each season.
Something different.
Yeah, for sure.
What I love about Indigenous art is that it's a basic shape that you would see, but then you start to fill it in.
Yeah.
But what I've never understood is when, well, like, I guess it's not, I never understood, but what intrigues me is the detail that goes into it.
Yeah.
And the shapes that are within the designs. Are those shapes and designs, like the dots in specific, do they represent things specifically?
Not specifically.
Or are they just like Indigenous Haida like
Yeah.
artwork? Do they, or is it just however the artist is going about it?
Well, with like this here, this like represents the gills, and like the dots would be like bubbles.
Because I always see eyes, and you do see moons and stuff, but like suns and stuff always seem to be incorporated, and I always find that that's what draws my eye, because the basic shape is I don't want to say it's basic, kind of sounds rude, but it's not. But the basic design that you're drawing is usually, it's the same structure, like with Haida art. You've got the same whale, but it's the intricacies that are laid inside of the body that are always like captivate me.
Oh,
and I've
for
always
sure.
wondered if there was like specific meanings to the different styles or strokes and things that went into it.
I know in Haida art there is some things that are like, they'll put other animals' faces inside of a different animal, and that sometimes they'll represent like the partnership that they have. Like some ravens and wolves have really good like partnerships and whatnot, so that can be represented in some of the art.
Okay.
Whereas with mine, it's just what feels right at the time. I just want your eye to move all across
It
like
does.
I don't want it to stop in one area. I want it to be like, oh, look at this. Oh, and so that you can follow the painting all the way through.
Over your course of doing artwork, what's been your biggest struggle point that you've either overcome or have had to still learn to overcome?
I find that I have an issue with like overdoing it with like my time. I feel, and I'm never one to be like, no, I can't do that. I'm always like, yeah, I can do that for you. And sometimes I tire myself out and I burn myself out pretty fast. But I think a lot of artists struggle with that. It's just like, they're like, yeah, I want to get as much art done as possible. But sometimes it's really important to take care of yourself, and that's one thing that I really struggle with, is that if someone contacts me about a commission, I'm like, oh yeah, I can do that. Even though I have like 5 commissions ahead of you, I will squeeze you in at some point. And then there are moments that my friends are always like, man, you need to like take it easy. Like you look exhausted. And I'm like, I know, I just want to get all the art in as much as possible. So.
How do you cope with burnout and find that what do you do to level yourself out to get back into like a inspired mindset?
I love camping. So camping is my happy place. So anytime I'm feeling like the weight of the world, or, you know, I've taken on too much, it's always good just to get out into the mountains, and just, that's where I always find that my mind resets, is once I'm like out there. And even sometimes, like, me and my sister-in-law, we'll just go bomb around in her side-by-side, and just me and her just talking to each other, driving through the woods, clearing paths and whatnot for our hunting trips and whatnot. That, I just find it just resets me. Just being in contact with the earth is like great. And the water. I love going for a swim if I'm feeling like really, really drained or overwhelmed. Just a quick dip in the water, and I'm like, oh, I feel great. Like, I've just rinsed away all of that negative feeling, or that feeling of like being stuck. Especially if I'm kind of blanking out in between arts, and I'm like, oh, I just don't know how I'm gonna be inspired to do this next painting when I am so tired from the last one. And then sometimes, yeah, just doing a little reset in the water, or the reset in the mountains, and it fixes me up really quick. So after I graduated high school, I went to a private secondary school on the reserve here called the Inalkin Center, and I took the National Indigenous Artist Training. And so constantly making art. I was writing, I was doing performing arts, and after I had finished my 2 years there, once I was done, I didn't pick up a paintbrush for a couple of years, and I was just so burnt out by, and it was just because like we were constantly creating. There was like not a moment to, you know, take a breath and reset, just because I was in school. And then you would take the summer off and then go back and then be doing it all over again. So once I finished, I was like, oh, people were like, oh, like, what's the new stuff that you're working on? And I'm like, I don't have the capacity to do it anymore. And I took, yeah, it's like 2 years off, because I was just so burnt out from creating constantly. And it was like 2 to 3 things every week for this training.
Wow.
And I like now, I really appreciate that, because they pushed me out of my comfort zone, where that's where I found my style, was because I was doing Haida, and I was talking to someone who was Haida, and they were like, oh, are you Haida? And I'm like, no. And they're like, oh. I'm like, interesting. Do the people around here have their own style? And I'm like, I don't really know. And I was like, no, actually, I don't really think we do. And I was like, I just really like your culture's art. And he was like, maybe you should try like doing something different. And then when I was working with the amazing professors there, they were like, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and we need you to have this done by like next week. And I was like, oh. I'm like, oh, okay. And then that's just kind of how I evolved into the artist that I am, was through that. But yeah, I took a long break after that.
Do you think that that motivation was lacking or had been taken out of you because it was school? Because I always have this theory that you can't be taught art, you can't be taught music, and you can't be taught specific disciplines, because they are very emotional based. And if you're being forced or taught how to do something within a certain spectrum, kind of kills the motivation for it.
Yeah, and I did find that for sure, just because I was like, man, I am so tired. Like there was one project that I did that I had to finish, and I didn't sleep for like, I had like a couple hours within 72 hours of working on this project. And once I handed it in, we had this like napping couch out in the hallway, and my professor was like, okay, you did good. I was like, can I? And she was like, go. Like, because I was sitting there and I was like, I don't feel good, and I was like shaky, and I was just living off of coffee and ramen basically, because I was a starving student. And she was like, yeah, go lay down. And I ended up sleeping the whole day, and one of my friends took notes for me, and he was like, do you want to ride home? I'm like, oh man, like what time is it? He's like, yeah, it's like 3:00, like school's over. I'm like, oh. And he was like, I'll give you a ride home. And I was like, holy man. And he was like, you did good on your project though. And I was like, oh Jesus. But yeah, it was awesome to be creating, but like you said, it was very much like, hey, you have to stay within this boundary of what needs to be created, and it has to be done on a certain time limit. So I think that took a lot of the inspiration out of it, and it was school. It wasn't like, there were some moments where I was like, God, I love this painting, or I love this drawing, but there were other moments where like, oh my God, I don't want to do this, because it was just, and to have like professional artists who became professors like critiquing your work, and I was like, like I think it's amazing, but they were like, yeah, well, we're gonna give you marks on it, and I was like, I didn't like that aspect of it. So, but honestly, I still hold on to like a lot of great teachings that I got from that school to this day. So
I think it's kind of cool that you had a Haida artist look at your work and ask if you were Haida. Is there different art forms within the different cultures that transcend or are completely different from each other?
Yeah, I think it's person to person. I think that Haida is just a very well-known art style.
It's the most popular in my mind too, right? So like, do our local Indigenous tribes have their own art style, or are you creating it? Like, are you one of the people who is actually creating the Okanagan's Indigenous art style?
I don't know, honestly. Like,
because if he sees your artwork and he's like, hey, you have a unique style, you're creating it. You are the leader of the Okanagan, like one of the leaders behind the Okanagan's Indigenous art.
I've never actually thought of it that way.
Like, to me, that's what that would be. Because you're having an artist who says, hey, like, what you're doing is magical. Do you guys have your own style? Yeah. No, it's because it's right here.
Yeah, well, because I was doing mostly Haida stuff, and then he was like, why don't you try something different? And then it just kind of snowballed from there, and now I have my own art style, and I get a lot of people who are like, oh, I saw your art, or I saw your art in town or something, and I'm like, oh, I actually, the health center I work for, we had one of our community members come in, and we have a painting, one of my paintings in the foyer, and she was like, that's your art, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, it is. And she's like, oh, I can tell it's yours. It's like, oh, thank you. And she was like, oh yeah, I can always tell when it's your art. I'm like, and it's a great feeling to be recognized as that specific style, I guess. It's just, and I never really thought about, like,
because you have, like, your photo that we used for the thumbnails and the artwork is with the mayor, and he's wearing your jersey that you created for the Vees. I'd say that your artwork is getting it is representing our area
Yeah.
in the Indigenous art form, because it's becoming, the Vees are wearing it at games.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, they got to wear it at a game. It's a huge honor.
It really
For
was.
them.
Yeah.
Not for you to design it, but for them to wear your design. I
Yeah.
think that is it's magic. Like,
Yeah.
realistically, there's not, and from what I know, a lot of very famous Indigenous artists, but I'm also just getting into the art world.
Yeah.
So to see one that is making it from our hometown, that is quite literally grown from the ground up,
Yeah.
you built yourself up from school, sold your artwork to make it to Europe. Out of Europe, you came here and started creating artwork.
Yeah.
That artwork was noticed by higher artists that said you need to create your own, and now you're creating your own, and it's being worn by our hockey team.
Yeah.
The path you've done is quite incredible.
Thank you.
What plans do you have moving forward? Do you have any new ideas, or do you want to take it to a larger scale? Like, would you ever do galleries?
Honestly, I think galleries would be awesome. I'm so busy already. It is so hard to create that many paintings. I did actually do like a Christmas market
Okay.
recently, and so I did 12 paintings. I made prints from them, and I also made a calendar. The calendars went like that. People were like, oh, because it was a Christmas market, and they were like, well, the New Year's coming, and the calendars sold very quickly. One of my coworkers, her sister, she cut once the calendar was done, she cut all the pictures out, and then she framed each one.
That's
And she
awesome.
was like, now I have 12 pieces of her art, like all over her house, which is like super cool. But yeah, just between my two jobs and running my own business, it's kind of hard to find the time for that. But I think lately I've been moving into logos. It kind of started with the V's, and I created another logo for a company called Interfor. It's like a forestry company in Castlegar.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I redesigned their logo. So I think that's kind of where I'm headed now. People are wanting logos done. They're wanting T-shirts and whatnot done. And maybe later on I could learn how to pick up a tattoo gun and play my hand at that. But yeah, I'm always looking for something new to do with my art. So
It's creative in you.
yeah.
You can never just sit still and do the same thing. Do you think that you'd ever do a course to teach students how to push the same style of art that you've learned and created?
Well, I do painting classes.
Okay.
Like every once in a while. I've done like youth groups and elders, and people are just like,
That's awesome.
like, do you teach paint classes? I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, I can do that. It's usually something fairly simple. That painting is from teaching a paint class, just something that you can fit in
Gorgeous.
like a couple of hours,
Yeah.
just because after a while people lose interest.
Yeah, it's modern day. It's kinda how it is.
Yeah, especially with I think my hardest crowd to teach is teenagers, because they lose interest so fast, and they're just. I just remember when I was being taught how to paint, I was very yeah, let's do this. I was very in tune, and then you would always get people who were very the kids who are just the clowns of the class who cracked jokes and distracted everybody. So kudos to high school teachers, because holy man, I'm exhausted after one class with teenagers, because I'm just okay, constantly repeating myself and constantly being yeah, this is what we're doing, and we gotta come back and redo this step because you weren't paying attention or whatever. So yeah, high school teachers are totally they have my praise. They're I don't know how they can handle kids like that every day.
Yeah.
But Yeah, and it's usually just simple art pieces. I haven't taught anyone like my style or how I do it. I want to do a pouring class one of these days, but you get a lot of people who don't like getting dirty. So with me, when I'm pouring, I'm up to here in paint. It's all over my clothes. It's one of those things that I'm like, meh. By the time I get out of it, I'm like, I got paint in my hair. I get pretty messy with it. But anytime I've like taught people like simple landscapes, they're like, oh, got stuff all over my hands. And yeah, so it's just finding the right crowd for that is a little bit more difficult. But I would be very interested in like teaching a class like that would let me explore like pour paint with someone, just because I think it's so much fun.
It is.
And it's very, yeah, and like you said, it's very like, you can't really plan what's going to come out. And I think it's very important for you to like release that control every once in a while, just to be like, oh, well, if it comes out the way it is, then that's the way it is, right? So
I think we all need to learn how to release control.
yeah.
The whole world right now is just so like we've got to control every little aspect.
Oh, for sure.
And like that's why I really enjoy the one that's going to be the wolf, because like learning, just recently doing a pour and learning how you do it, there's so much in that one that I'm like, how did you even get the cells and all the different movement in that without losing it? I can imagine watching it. Were there points in that one specifically where you almost thought you lost it?
100%, yeah.
Because now I understand the concept of when you're twisting it and you're moving it and you're trying not to lose those shapes, and then it starts to leak and you're like, no.
Actually, I was right here doing my pour and I accidentally stepped on one of my dogs, and so when she like jumped, I jumped, and I was like, I poured a lot of it on the ground here, and I was like, oh my god. So I had to like put it down and like console my dog first, of course, and then
you do the paint,
and then I was like, and then I was like picking up paint that had spilled, and I was putting it back, and I was like, oh my gosh, like that's just what happens when you have pets around your legs all the time. But so this part right here was actually, I hadn't finished it yet, and then it came pouring off this side, so this whole part right here was white, and I was like, oh my god, I don't have enough paint for that. So I literally just scooped it off the table and then like off the ground and just like put it on there, and of course there's dog hair in it too, so I had to like pluck out dog hair. It was
awesome.
It was quite the moment.
I can imagine it was just chaos for 5 minutes straight.
It was chaotic, and yeah. And then because I rent this house, I was like, I have to clean this floor. So yeah, it was quite the adventure, but I was able to save it, and this one went smooth. That one just was...
I think that's why you can see the difference between smooth and it's like the chaos. And that's why I'm drawn to that one.
Yeah.
My mind is very chaotic, so that one...
Yeah.
Your career, what's been your favorite piece to date? And I know most people would probably assume it would be the jersey.
That one is one of my favorites. However, I have a painting that is at the Fairview Medical Center. And it is like 1.2 meters by 1 meter. It's
a big
canvas. It's huge. It's the biggest painting I have ever done, and I'm still very proud of that painting. So when people see it, they're like, wow, like, and it's very in your face. It takes up the whole wall. That one is one of my favorites. And it's one of the ones that people will still text me about, be like, I just saw your painting and it's beautiful. So it kind of looks like this, but instead of this kind of design, it's more of like a realistic painting on top of it. So, and that one was just one of my favorites. And I don't know, I think it's probably because it's how big it is that it just it made me very proud, and it took me quite a few months to complete.
I was gonna ask, how long did it take?
It was,
big canvases are not easy.
Yeah, it was about 60 hours. Just in this one painting, and I actually took videos of it, like time-lapse videos of it, and I put it all together, and when we did the reveal of the painting, I played that video of me doing the painting from start to finish. And yeah, I think it was just so much of me went into that painting, and also I tried something new with like video as well and documenting it that way, just because of how big it was. I was like, I need to document this. So yeah, that's definitely one of my favorite pieces that I've ever done.
With being creatives, we also have like this huge duty to make a difference through art, and I think that's why artists have always been so like revered through the ages. Is like we idolize Da Vinci, and like so long down past his death that I feel artists, musicians get the credibility they deserve in their time if they get picked up.
Yeah.
Because people enjoy their music, but
Yeah.
most painters don't until after they're gone.
And that's what I always tell everybody. I was telling a friend of mine, I was like, yeah, make sure you keep that painting. She's like, why? And I'm like, because when I'm gone, I was like, that painting's going to be worth thousands of dollars. And I always joke about it. And I'm like, yeah, when I'm gone, make sure you hang on to that, or I'll sign it for you, and then you can sell that for thousands of dollars. And I always just joke about it with all my friends, and they're like, don't say that. I'm like, well, like most artists, most painters, like you said, like aren't recognized until they're gone. Like Da Vinci and
Van Gogh.
yeah, I was gonna say Van Gogh and
Monet.
a lot of artists actually. It's not until long after they're gone that someone's like, oh my God, this art is amazing. Who did this?
So that's from 300 years ago.
Yeah, and that person's gone.
Yeah. If you were to guide someone as to how to pick up their pen to make it a living,
Yeah.
what would your first step for them be?
Marketing yourself is very, very important. And it's about like getting your own brand and making yourself known to everybody. It's one of those things, and to have yourself be readily available for commissions is very, very important. But yeah, that was one thing that I learned in at the Inauken Center was marketing yourself as an artist.
So they teach you that.
Oh, they do teach you that.
That's magic.
Yeah, and it was amazing learning how to make a portfolio, learning how to, make your own art email and your own page and whatnot like that. So they were like, it's very important for you to market yourself, because if you don't market yourself, people don't know you're an artist. So if that is something that could be taught even in high school, like to be able to market yourself as an artist, like, hey, if you want to do this as like your passion, as your passion project, then you need to learn how to be able to sell your art, how to price it out, what you think is like a something that is, I'm losing my words here.
It's okay.
But yeah, just having to teach someone how to market themselves is very important. I think that's just what it comes down to, because when I was younger, I didn't really know how to market myself. And once I went to the Inauken Center and they teach you how to do that, it all came together very quickly. And then I took those 2 years off, and now it's starting to pick up again, and it's been really great. So I think that's one thing that should be taught to young artists.
If you could change one thing about the arts industry, what do you think it would be?
I think something that's very common is going into the mindset of, oh, that's too expensive. And that's one thing that drives me crazy, is that I know some great artists who set their rates so low, and they don't have that confidence to be like, oh, this is what I am worth. If you don't like it, then you can move on to another artist. And they take these very low commissions for amazing art that is worth so much more. And I think that's one of the things that people don't realize, that it's not just, you know, I'm making money from my art. This is a piece of me goes into each of these paintings. And it's the same thing with any artist. Like if you're going into any kind of art project, or you're doing a commission for someone, but having them be like, it's really expensive. Like, I think that's one thing that people need to change, that mindset of like, it's so expensive, to, well, how much time and how much emotion and how much love did they put into each of these things? I think that's one thing that people need to change their mindset on, is that I've had people be like, oh, that's really expensive, would you take this for it? I'm like, no. I'm like, absolutely not, no. And if you don't want it, then that's fine.
Somebody else will.
Yeah, somebody else will buy it. But yeah, I think that's one thing that needs to change within the industry, is that having that mindset of things are too expensive. But you've got to think of, you know, a person's time. You've got to think about like all the supplies that goes into it. And I think that's just one of the things that people just need to change their mindset on, is, and I feel bad for artists who are just like, oh, I just don't feel like I'm that good, so I charge really, really small amount. I'm like, no, like, you're an amazing artist and you should be charging more for your work. But you can't tell people what they should be charging. It's just like you have to kind of figure it out yourself. But yeah, I have told a couple artists, I'm like, you're not charging enough, and like, you should be charging more. But they're like, oh, well, I'm still really new to this. I'm like,
doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Skill set does not determine how long you've been doing something. If you're gifted at something, you're gifted at it. You should be charging what you're worth. And I think, I think that's one thing that I would change. I think it's probably one of the best points I've heard. Yeah. Out of any of the painters. If you had one piece of advice to give an aspiring artist who would like to start their journey, what do you think it would be? I think that my advice would be just to find your own style. It's one of those things that isn't talked about enough, is that finding your own style and finding a style that is easily recognized to you is very important. And also, like I said before, learning how to market yourself and learning how to, you know, go out there and let the world know that you're an artist and that you are there to create and to, you know, make people happy with the art that you create, and like you said, change the world for the better. And I think that it's very important to take care of yourself. I'm one to talk. Like, there are moments where I don't really take care of myself and I put a little too much on my plate. But I think that after you finish projects, it's very important to have a reset moment to get back to yourself, because if you don't, then you're going to burn out so fast and you're not going to want to do art anymore. So I think that those would be my pieces of advice for someone who is starting out, because I was not given any of that kind of advice in high school. And then when I went into the private secondary school and learned about marketing and everything, and then quickly burned out after the 2 years. So I think that would be my advice for a new artist. Find yourself and give yourself some breathing space sometimes. For sure. It's definitely difficult to, and you've hit a lot of points that are probably some of my favorite points, especially the taking care of yourself. We tend to forget that. Yeah. We're so hyper-focused, and I think it's because a lot of us have ADHD, and we're just like, we're so hyper-focused on our art and trying to do something for somebody else, so we tend to we come last always. Yeah. And I think that's the very thing, is like, you need to focus on you at the same time. Yeah. And like, being able to divvy that up is the challenge. Oh, for sure. Like, yeah. Yeah. And we grew up in a time where it was very like, go, 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 go. And you're not upset. Mental health, what's that? Like, move on. Yeah.
quit your crying.
Yeah, man up.
Yeah,
it's definitely,
exactly. Yeah.
It's kind of nice to be the generation that's not breaking those chains, but like the ones that are now get to inspire a younger generation to be something
Yeah.
that's like more.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited
Yeah.
to see where the future goes for creatives.
Oh, for sure.
Well, I want to thank you so much for doing this. This has been an incredible conversation. You were magical, and we didn't even get to dive into the other forms of incredible art that you do. And I'd love to come back and do another sit down with you and dive
sure.
into the beading and the dancing and everything else, because there's the art and like the mind are one thing.
Yeah.
But I would love to like dive in and see more of the indigenous aspects that you have, like the art form, because I've been to one powwow in my lifetime and it was magic. Like that is,
it's amazing.
If you ever want to see an amazing experience, is like go watch that, because it's culturally like soulful. Like I got goosebumps thinking about it. Just like actually got goosebumps just thinking about how there's not a word that describes the music, the dancing, the colors, everything. So like I would love to be able to do like a part 2 and dive into that aspect of what you do, because it's, to me, it's a art form and a style and culture that I've always wanted to dive into but never had the opportunity. So I want to thank you for everything.
And thank you so much for coming into my studio.
No, it's been amazing, and I can't wait to see more of the artwork as it comes.
Yeah, some new stuff is coming up, so.
Awesome. Well, we'll catch you guys next time, and thanks for coming by.